Welcome back. More than a year ago, Governor Ralph Northam signed the Virginia Consumer Data Protection Act into law, making it the second state in the nation to take this action. Since then, 3 other states have passed similar laws.
But this law doesn't take effect until next January, and it doesn't apply to all companies. Here with us now is Irene Leech, Assistant Professor of Consumer Studies with Virginia Tech. Thanks for speaking with us today.
Glad to be here.
So first up, Irene, can you kind of break down the basics of this law? What does it actually require companies to do?
Well, this is law that has been very slow coming in the U.S. and it ought to be a clue that we're the second state. We don't ever do consumer protection that fast. So it doesn't apply to most businesses. A business has to have at least 100,000 consumers in their database, or 25,000 if they get more than 50% of their income from the data that they're selling. And there are at least 15 exclusions to the law. So it puts a framework in place, but it's not something that is going to require that every business out there make a change.
And how will companies have to change to adapt to this law?
Well, the ones that need to adapt will create a data controller. And the way the law is designed, each company can set up its own process through which a consumer can tell the company what we want done with our data. And it's online. It's required that each consumer do it for him or herself. There's no one who can do it for you. The way the law is currently set, you can't use some of the browser extensions to communicate this. You're going to have to go to the website of each business and follow the rules that they put in place for letting them know what you want. There's no standard language so that every website is going to have everything the same way. So you'll have to read carefully and make sure that the answers you give are the ones that you really intend to give. So it's going to put a lot of work on consumers. That's where, things are really going to be crazy, because if you think about it, how many entities do you do business with? And if you've got to find a website for every single one of them to keep them from sharing your data, it could take a lot of time, and you may not understand all of the things that are put before you.
So again, you mentioned, these are really big companies you're talking about, right? Like you're saying Amazon, and you mentioned it puts a lot of work on the consumers for this, but does it give consumers any power at all?
Not much, sadly. You can ask for things, you can get some copies of things, but the law very explicitly gives the company periods of time, like 45 days, to respond to a consumer about things. And if you run into problems, then all you can do is appeal to the company and go through the company's designed appeal process. And if you get really frustrated, you can't go to an attorney because consumers can't take them to court. The only entity that can take a company to court if they're not doing things the way they're supposed to is the state's attorney general. And, the attorney general isn't going to take just any case. But further, the law specifies that if the attorney general finds a company that it thinks is not following the law, it has to give that company 30 days to fix the problem. The law says cure, but they mean fix the problem. And if they do, then there's no penalty. There'll be no record of them having, not followed the law. And individual consumers are not compensated by things that the Attorney General deals with. That was one of the changes that was proposed that ended up the current Attorney General declined after the election to have that included. So consumers are really going to find that there's not a whole lot we can do other than work with each company and do our very best to understand what each of them is putting out there for us, and then trying to negotiate with them to get what we want.
Irene Leech, Assistant Professor of Consumer Studies at Virginia Tech, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. We'll be right back.